What are the differences between Catholics and Protestants in Northern Ireland, and how can you tell them apart? Stay tuned to find out. Well, what's happening, everybody? I hope yous are all doing well. It's been a pretty long while since I've actually done a video, like a long video, you know what I mean? Especially surrounding a topic like this. So I thought it would better off me doing one though, just to like just to like a wee catch-up type of thing. But yeah, I hope yous are all doing well. And if you haven't done so already, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I'm very near 4,000, which is incredible, so thanks very much. But yeah, the reason why I decided to do this video today is basically two reasons. The first I've already discussed. It's been a while since I've made a video like this, so I thought it was time for me to do another one. But secondly, I was visiting the Ulster Museum in Belfast today, and I came across this picture. You can see it there. And basically, what the picture is describing is differences between Catholics and Protestants in Northern Ireland, or the stereotypical differences that people think, and how you can tell Catholics versus Protestants apart. I will stress this, I'm not in total agreement with them all. There is some that's sort of definitely true, while there's some that may be true, while there's some that I know for a fact both communities do. So, yeah, they'll basically be false, but I'm going to discuss them anyway. And another reference point as well, I'm not going to get into the real historical or political differences between the two. If you want me to do another video on that, because it can be traced back centuries, and I mean centuries, to like the plantation and stuff like that. And like obviously delving into more like 20th century Irish history, like the Easter Rising building up to the Troubles and stuff like that. If you want me to do another video on those sort of topics, by all means drop it in the comments and I'll have a go at it. But this video is basically just more or less discussing that wee picture that I showed a wee minute ago. And it's basically just taking a, not probably a fun approach to it is the wrong word, but I thought I'd just discuss it anyway. I've written down all the like differences that came up on the board, and I've actually broken them down into two different categories to make it easier. The first category is religion and identity. Pretty obvious considering like Catholics and versus Protestants, there's obviously going to be religious elements there. And the second category will fall into holidays and other topics, whether it be food and drink, sport and stuff like that, and others. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get into the first category, which is religion and identity. And I must stress, like right off the bat, this video is taking a stance of Catholics versus Protestants, or Catholics different to Protestants, or the differences between the both of them, and how you can tell them apart. This is not my point of view, okay? I must stress that. And also, I must stress as well, in Northern Ireland, that isn't the only two religions. There's people of like, whether it be Jewish, Muslim, people of no faith, people of other different Christian faiths and stuff like that. So yeah, but this is just specifically going by that picture. And regarding identity, there is loads of different identities in Northern Ireland as well, as there is across the world. But for this specific video, I'm going to focus on, or the differences that's going to be more prevalent is between British and Irish. So Protestants would be more associated with the British identity, why Catholics are more likely to be associated with the Irish identity. There is very like what's the word, like obscure, like people who are Catholics and consider themselves British, like I believe Rory McIlroy's one, and so on. But yeah, for this video, and again, it's just like a stereotypical viewpoint, not necessarily my view, it's just what people think stereotypically. But yeah, without any further ado, let's get into the religious and identity differences and how you can tell them apart. Ready? Firstly, what come up here is that you can tell Catholics by how much they love Mary. So, Jesus' mother. So, Catholics love Mary. Secondly, it come up here, this was all on the board, that Protestants love King Billy, so King Billy III, and they also love royalty, so whether it be the late Queen or King Charles. So you can tell a Protestant by how much they actually love royalty and also King Billy. This is a bit of a funny one that I never really realised, but it is associated with identity. It says you can tell Catholics and Protestants apart by their murals. And what it says here is Catholics are more likely to paint better murals than Protestants. It says here Protestant murals are more likely to be of a lesser quality. So if anybody doesn't know, a mural is like a painting you would see on like communities, especially around Belfast, that would be devoted to either political figures or stuff like that. And according to this, you can tell the communities apart by the quality of them. Catholics are more likely to be of better quality. Here we go. And another one here, it's another religious one. Catholics are more likely to love religious statues and use holy water compared to Protestants. And whilst Protestants are more likely to sing and love hymns, so religious hymns, compared to Catholics, whilst Catholics are more also likely to be associated with saints, so whether it be Patrick Pio and St. Peter and stuff like that. So yeah, that's like religious differences between the two. And the next couple are more like on the identity side. This is probably an obvious one. Catholics are more likely to have Irish names, which is more or less an obvious one. But on the other hand, is like it says Protestants are more likely to not be able to spell, and some mightn't be able to pronounce Irish names. So whether it be names like girls' names such as Aoife, Saoirse, stuff like that. According to like the stereotypical view, is that Protestants are more likely to misspell them or mispronounce them. Another pretty obvious one here is to do with Celtic and Rangers, the football teams. Catholics are more likely to be associated with Celtic, Glasgow Celtic, while Protestants are more likely to be associated and support Rangers, Glasgow Rangers. So yeah, pretty obvious one, the Celtic versus Rangers debate there. And then this is the final one. There's probably more out there, but this is the final one that was on the list. The final one associated with religion and identity is St. Patrick's Day versus the 12th of July. Catholics are more likely to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, whilst Protestants celebrate the 12th of July, which is associated with like the Battle of the Boyne and stuff like that. Again, if you want me to make another separate video on like the real historical views and like the differences, I'll try my best at that. But I'll throw another one in there, is that Catholics are also more likely to celebrate something called the Fila, which is usually held in August. It's like a big celebration of like Irish culture and stuff. So yeah, I'll throw that in there, and it's probably a better comparison between the 12th and yeah, with the 12th. But yeah, folks, that is all the religion and identity ones. But the next one, For me, there's a lot of funny ones in here that I didn't know. First time I've heard of it. There is some that I do know. But yeah, there's a few of them I had to actually laugh at because I've never really heard of them before. But yeah, the next topic is associated with like holidays, sport, and other different types of topics. Yeah, without any further ado, let's get into it. First of all, probably leading on from the last one as well, it's more around identity, but it's a sport one. And it says here, Catholics are more likely, and I know this for a fact, more likely to follow GAA, camogie, and hurling. Again, there is some exceptions to that, while as Protestants are more or less associated with football, rugby, and hockey. But again, especially football and rugby, I'm sure there's examples of both, like Protestants playing GAA. I know there's a few. And football, like, I believe loads of Catholics and Protestants follow football, but yeah, I'm sure there's like loads of exceptions in that one. But yeah, these are into some of the funniest ones, right? There's a couple of food ones here that I've never heard of. Listen to this one. Catholics only take bisto as their gravy, whilst they have fish on Friday. As I say, I'm a Catholic, know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, when I could eat it, I used to love my bisto. And I used to be able to love my fish. And I know the fish thing, like Good Friday and stuff like that, you can only eat fish. And Ash Wednesday as well. But I didn't know the bisto one. So if Protestants or anybody of other faiths could let me know in the comments, have you ever heard that one before? Because I've never heard it, sorry. And this is another one it's associated with. Protestants are more likely to eat or drink soup than Catholics. Yet I'm not a big soup drinker, but my mum and dad take them all the time. And as I say, they're Catholics. So I don't know where that's come, but Protestants are more likely to love soup, and drink soup. I've heard this one before. Again, I don't know if it's true. Protestants are more likely to keep their toasters in their cupboards, so you can tell them apart by where they put their toasters. So there you go. Here's a couple more weird ones here. In terms of holidays, and again, I know this for a fact that it's wrong, Catholics are more likely to go to Bundoran. It's a place in Ireland. Way up the real top of Ireland. Catholics are more likely to go to Bundoran, while as Protestants are more likely to go to Newcastle in County Down. So there you go. I know that for a fact. Well, I've been to both. I'm sure there's been Protestants that's been to both as well. But there you go. Listen to this one as well. This is like a hobby in terms of hobbies. Catholics are more likely to prefer walking and keeping fit than Protestants, while as Protestants are more likely to prefer gardening than Catholics. Never heard of that in my life. Never heard of that in my life. So there you go. While it also says here, Protestants are more likely to be into horse riding and wear gillets than Catholics. Again, correct me if you know this for a fact or if you don't believe in it. Like, I don't really believe in a lot of them, but yeah, there you go. And the next one is, I don't know which is more specific here. It doesn't really mention who, but it says you can tell Catholics and Protestants apart by freckles. So the more freckles you have in your face and stuff like that, you can tell a Catholic versus Protestants apart. Again, I don't know which is which because I've never really heard of that one, but there you go. In terms of, like, again, more hobbies and stuff like that, it says Catholics, and I believe this one, Catholics are more likely to watch RTE, which is an Irish TV channel, Catholics are more likely to watch RTE than Protestants, while Protestants are more interested in stuff like bands, musicals, and accordions and stuff like that. So more into instruments. But this was a bit of a weird one. I've never really heard of this before. Catholics are more likely to play bingo than Protestants. Again, play a bingo a lot for myself, but I didn't know that whatsoever. So again, correct me if it's wrong. You know what I mean? I'll leave that one to last because that one's a definite classic. But let's do this one. Protestants, again, I've never heard this one in my life. Protestants think Catholics keep coal in the bath, while Catholics think Protestants can't or don't have fun on Sundays. Again, I don't know if that's true, so let me know if it is or if it isn't. But yeah, these are the last two. The second last one is the colour of school uniforms. I think that's more changing over time. But you can partly tell the differences of Catholics and Protestants by what type of colour school children go in their school uniforms. There you go. I think that's changing, more contemporary though. And then finally, this is a classic one. The pronunciation of the letter H. So depending on how you pronounce the letter H, you can tell a Catholic and Protestant apart. And what I mean by that is there's like H, you can pronounce it H, but there's also like apparently others that pronounce it H, you know what I mean? So yeah, depending on how you pronounce the letter H, you can tell Catholics and Protestants apart. Again, I don't know how often or true that is, but it has been like a common like thought process throughout the years. But yeah, what does everybody think of them? Again, I'll stress, I think a load of them is bull, basically bull. A lot of them, especially the religious and identity ones, does occur. And again, I'll stress, there's loads of different religious groups in Ireland and Northern Ireland, and there's loads of different identities, but in terms of the Catholic Protestant thing, I do believe some of those, but there was a lot of them, especially in the other ones, whether it be holidays, food. The food ones are weird. I believe the sport as well, like surely loads, like Catholics and Protestants watch football. But yeah, what does everybody else think, folks? Was there any that wasn't included that should have been? Do you agree or disagree with any of them? What does everybody think? And if you want me to do another, like, a more historical, political, and more serious trajectory in comparison, let me know. I'll have a go at it. But yeah, thanks very much if you've watched the video. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all soon.